For so long, nobody ever told our stories or really even cared to hear about them, including us. As of recent years, though, the paradigm has shifted. All of a sudden, folks from all over, especially Black Americans, have this desire to know history beyond just a few generations back, but more ancestral. We are racing to spit in little tubes and turn over our DNA to sources like Ancestry.com and 23andMe for the hopes of gaining insight and knowledge of our whys. But we can't get to our whys without knowing our whos, can we?
Speaking of knowing our who's in order to get to our whys, there's a phenomenal woman who felt the urge, picked up the torch, and began to create and facilitate a movement, if you will, to shine a positive and essential light on some of the most outstanding, courageous, pioneering, and brilliant beings in the diaspora. Welcome, Miss Linda Anukwuem, Curator and Coordinator of Who Diaspora publication, which is now in its second release or the second edition of the Nigerian Story. Hello, Miss Linda. How are you?
Hi, Miss Tannis. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. You look amazing.
Thank you.
You want to tell us a little bit about who you're wearing, what you're wearing? Because it's gorgeous, and you are definitely wearing it very well.
Who am I wearing? I guess I'm gonna have to say Mr. Larry. He's a local tailor here in the Houston area. He's actually Nigerian. The fabric is one of the traditional ankaras that you'll see most African fabrics or, I don't know, styles that are being used. It's just customized.
Well, you're over there looking like a whole snack, honey. So you look gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Linda, in speaking about how we are so behind on things and how it's a great thing that we're now catching up to, covering our stories and even wanting to even know our stories. Why do you think now it's happening? Why do you think it's been such an emergent shift in not just wanting to know, but the need to know our ancestral history?
I think it's very important for us to know our ancestral history because it helps define who we are. There's, just like you said, I feel like there's a big movement even taking place as it relates to Africa where everyone, regardless of the color of their skin, are tracing their roots, and somehow, some way, something, even if it's 3%, is showing up on the continent of Africa.
I agree. I concur. So again, the Nigerian Story is in the second edition of Who Diaspora publication. Can you tell us a little bit about why you started this publication? What led you to begin with the Nigerian Story, and why you felt there needed to be a second edition to the story?
Well, I'm going to go back. I think I've always had a drive to facilitate networks. I remember in 2016, facilitating an event called Africa I Exchange, bringing together women, connecting both here locally and domestically, and across the water. With the African women visiting. So when it came time regarding the Nigerian Story, one, it's home for me. I'm more familiar with that story, and I, wanted to use it more like a template. But two, to really tell our own narrative or get control of our narrative. And another thing too is documentation. To see and hear of the good things that different individuals, regardless of what industry that they represent, whether it's creative or they're an advocate for social justice, is good to capture these things for the next generation. That way, when they open that book and read it, there's a sense of inspiration, but also encouragement on what they can do as well.
Well, it sounds like we definitely couldn't have done that in just one edition. So I certainly understand why there was a need for a second one for sure. The publication, actually, the first edition, I read it. It was such a page turner. I've read everyone's story, every single feature in there. I read it from cover to cover. And it's categorized in respective disciplines of interest. And I just found myself captivated even by the stories of those working in fields that I never even imagined would hold my attention. So can you tell us a little bit about how you structured the categories and then orchestrated gathering the stories of these trailblazers, trendsetters, and world changers?
Yes, well, we can't go without saying that social media wasn't involved, because that was able to tell me that Nigerians have gone beyond the standard disciplines of medicine, law, and engineers. It was really interesting to see those that are trailblazing in the STEM area, but definitely I was very much so impressed with the content creators and at all levels. Nothing very specific, but you would see it in the art, you would see it in the fashion, you would see it even in the film industry as well. So, I mean, it was just a little bit of everything. So, in order to even categorize the book, I just started to look at the growing industries that are taking place right now. And then, of course, keeping social media in mind.
And can you just give me maybe 3 or 4 of the categories that's in there? Like, what if someone, is there a medical category or science category, or give us some examples of some of the disciplines that are in there?
One of the categories, so definitely we want to get categories where Nigerians are also dominating, but also those categories that allow the culture to be displayed. So that brings me to culinary. You have a trend happening where it's allowing a lot of the diasporans to open restaurants and to actually create a West African fusion, but introducing, non-Nigerians to the taste of Nigeria.
Oh, awesome.
The second, I would say another field that's represented in the book is definitely the health professional field. And, that one was quite interesting because even within the healthcare field, you had different disciplines. You had those that focused on infectious diseases. You had some who focused on what I want to say, the what is it called, neurology, which you have some major key players who are Nigerian that participate in that field. In addition to adding the sports field, what else? The film and creatives as well. And then, of course, there was a vast pool of individuals that represented entrepreneurs. So.
Oh, see, now that's always interesting because that seems to be the wave in which everything is flowing in the entrepreneurship. But we need the neurologists and we need all of the lovely scientific minds that are out there. So all are much needed. And again, if this second edition is anything like the first edition, I mean, I cannot wait to get my hands on it. So just a little bit of a hint out there to you that I would love to have a copy of that book as soon as it's ready. So Linda, for some, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It's what gets us going and helps the creative juices to start flowing. If you had to choose only 3 individuals from the Nigerian story to start your day with, who would they be and why?
Interesting. I would definitely want to include Dr. Bennett Amalu. He, his story is very well known. There was a movie based on his story and his career called Concussion, but I would want him to be a part of my breakfast lineup because I
that's
feel...
the one with Will Smith, right?
Yes.
That's the one that Will Smith, okay, awesome.
Yes, I would want him to be a part of my breakfast lineup because he can be able to tell me how to beat the odds. I mean, because during his journey, everyone was against what he was saying, on his discovery regarding, or at that time regarding the NFL and the way, the guys were getting hit, the type of post-trauma that it would create. But I mean, he kept going. So definitely him. The second person, Kingsley Kobashi, based in Tokyo, Japan. He is actually a serial entrepreneur in Tokyo. He's basically king of the hospitality industry, with bars, restaurant. He's also has a fintech company where he's part of the blockchain. I would definitely add him to the lineup because I just need to know how he's doing it all. I need that type of juice in my life.
Okay.
And then
we all do.
The last person will definitely be Dr. Rita Archie. She's based in Canada. She's dominating in the STEM field, but one thing about her, I mean, she's, such an inspiration where the STEM field to dominate. She's become a leading woman in her field. And I don't know, I just feel when I see women, such as her, I just want to be able to at least just touch her, I mean, she's breaking glass ceilings and just slaying dragons all over the place. So.
Oh, wow. Well, sounds like somebody else I know that's curating books and coordinating, putting such wonderful publications together for sure. So let's progress into the evening. Okay.
Okay.
Sometimes as our day goes on and we slay the dragons and all the challenges that come throughout the day, we have to overcome those same challenges, right?
I agree.
So who would 3 dinner companions be from the Nigerian Story that would help you end your night on a better note, so to speak?
Okay, to add to my dinner lineup, I would actually start with Osei. He is founder of Nollywood in Hollywood. One thing about him is interesting, to have meet such a personality such as him. When you listen to him, you're thinking like, this guy's weird, but he makes sense, so he'll just bring all those challenges at the end of the day to actually make sense and how they connect in the universe, or so to speak. The second person I would add to the lineup is Stella Fubara. She's based in Dubai. She's actually a heavy hitter in the tourism industry there. It would be nice to actually have a dinner talk with her because she could at least tell me how to relax in Abu Dhabi. When all the book stuff is done. The last person I would have to say is Miss Kechi. She's a survivor of a plane crash, and she's just a symbol of survivor to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
She could definitely help you end the night on a better note, no doubt about it. That young lady has a very interesting and compelling story for sure. Absolutely. So what's on the menu? What's on the menu? You got to feed them right? So what wonderful Nigerian cuisine is on the menu?
Oh, we're going with the Nigerian cuisine. I we can't go without saying pounded yam. One of my favorite soups is agusi. I would also add okra just in case I have a different taste bud. We can also add the jollof rice.
Yes, have to add that. That's a must.
And maybe the goat meat pepper soup. So, yeah.
What is the overall takeaway that you want readers of the Nigerian Story, as well as Who Diaspora future publications, to gain? What do you want them to walk away from with having, this lovely publication?
I would want them to walk away with one feeling that they can connect with one another. At the end of the day, it's definitely a compilation, but it also allows people to reach out to anyone in any way, depending on, what that project that they're working on. But also to add, definitely to use it as encouragement as well to the younger generation. But I also look at the book as a what I want to say, a valuable piece that someone could always have in their office or a coffee table, that chronicles these trailblazers. For me, documentation was key here. 10 years later, sometimes, we may not know, what happened or what went on, but this, again, it allows us to be a part of our narrative and just develop it more, when it comes to the culture and, the country itself.
Absolutely. So I heard through the grapevine that you've got some pretty heavy hitters supporting this publication. You care to elaborate on who they are and, what led them to their decisions, or what you felt led them to their decisions to offer their support?
Yes. Just a few. Let me see. So we have the Houston mayor, Sylvester Turner. I think he was more felt definitely wanted to support such a project with being host to the largest Nigerian diaspora community outside of the country. He has a very powerful, encouraging statement, written in the book, along with Senator James out of Atlanta. I look at her as the symbol of Southern hospitality. She hosted me along with my publicist early last year. But even with her, she's very well known across the diaspora, not just in Atlanta, how she supports not just the Nigerian community, but just the African and African American community overall. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee as well. She's definitely known as a sister of the continent. She even schooled in Lagos as well, Lagos, Nigeria, but she penned a quite endearing note, to the readers in the second edition. And last but not least, Dr. Adeshina, Dr. Adeshina, which is president of the African Development Bank. He penned a foreword speaking on behalf of the Nigerians in the diaspora. He's what you would consider what a typical journey of a Nigerian immigrant, where they come to school in the U.S. and they actually go back, home to use it in a way, or what they've learned in a positive way to impact the country. I mean, I think he's been the role of Minister of Agriculture. And now with him in the position that he's doing now, he's still trying to mobilize the continent where it can basically depend on itself as far as the economic development.
Oh, that's dope. That's great. Yeah, you definitely do have some heavy hitters that are um, joining the movement for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anybody that you can think of that you want to
Oh,
mention
yes.
or honorable
For
mentions
mentions.
or?
Yes, yes, yes. You know, a lot of people play a role with the book. You know, the network is um, is very expanded to the point where all you need is a couple of influential people who will make that right call. So I have to definitely highlight the consul general from the New York office and also the Atlanta office as well. They were able to connect us with some of the major associations, you know, in the diaspora where they would just make that call and, you know, some of those profiles came in. But individuals that I would like to also mention, Pastor Christie, she was definitely the prayer warrior regarding, you know, the project, you know, constantly sending words of encouragement. Um, Dr. Chi with AMPA, who's also the incoming president coming in. She's the reason why the healthcare profession is so vast and so diverse, even in the disciplines, even pulling Nigerians, you know, from the places where you wouldn't think a Nigerian will reside. And last but not least, I'll have to say, I have to give it up to my publicist, Ms. Tannis, um, you know, bringing the creative ideas on how, you know, we can present this project, you know, to the world.
Well, I appreciate that. In case you guys don't know or didn't realize, um, Tannis Harris of the Three of Me group, we are the publicists for this dynamic publication, and you know we are just looking forward to um, all the many great things that we know as ahead. We're looking forward to making sure that the stories of these trailblazing, miraculous individuals are being told, because we also want to make sure that the stories are desirable, that people want to hear the stories, because again, for so long that hasn't been the case. So we're just so happy and so elated about this publication and the many editions that will surely follow. And that being said, Linda, when can we expect Who Diaspora, the Nigerian Story second edition, to be released?
Well, luckily it's coming really soon. Probably within the next month or two, you'll start seeing more details out there regarding the pre-sales. And then the book,
Okay.
but we're currently in the final stages, and I have to really send out a special shout out to 13th and Joan Publishing Company, you know, that has this project come, you know, to life. So
yes, they've been amazing. We thank them so much. And we thank you for such a refreshing conversation. We're so grateful to you, Linda, really from the bottom of our hearts, for helping to share with the world the stories of extraordinary people making exceptional moves. Like, it couldn't have been a better time. And we're so very, very grateful for you for doing this. Thank you so much. It's
thank
been a
you.
pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Oh my.
Couldn't we all become greater versions of ourselves with the resources, knowledge, and encouragement of the vanguards throughout the diaspora, paving the way, adjusting and pivoting, just so we can do the same for our successors? Wouldn't we be able to traverse our paths with clearer direction if we knew the stories of those who have perfected crafts in multiple disciplines and triumphed against the odds? The Who's Who Diaspora Publications serves as our blueprint, our map, our inspiration, and our opportunity to fulfill our ancestors' wildest dreams. Our stories are paramount to who we are. They fuel our whys and navigate the excellence we become.